Educating, informing, serving. Fact TV, keeping government honest.
Okay, so I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Brookline Select Board for April 15th. The time is 6:30. Just to clarify, we're doing this meeting partially in person. Gwen Tanza and myself, David Jones, are in the town office along with Guy Tanza, the town clerk and videographer. And then online, we have Joseph Dutton, Bruce Mello, and also our recording clerk, Peter Barris. All right. And first up, and just to refresh people's memory, like we did last time, as we go through items, I will call for each person to have their comments so that we don't talk over each other too much. So I'll be sure to go around and give everybody an opportunity to speak to any issues and such. Okay, changes to the agenda, if any. I don't have any. Gwen, do you have any changes to the agenda? Bruce, any changes to the agenda? Joseph, any changes to the agenda? Okay, all right.
I have a question.
Yes, Bruce.
Related to 6C, financial, okay, I'm getting feedback from somebody. Financial tax status. Are you talking about the, as per the taxes when they come due on 15th of May?
I think it's just, honestly, I think it's just sort of a catch-all for us to discuss what we may or may not know right now about what the town's financial situation might be or what we anticipate it could be. No specific, just it's kind of a general. I had a couple of conversations with Sarah about what she knows at this point. So it was mainly just to talk a little bit about that. And also to clarify what we can and cannot do as far as taxes are concerned, just to clarify some points. So there's no confusion about that. Was that your only question for the moment, Bruce?
Yes, it was.
Okay, cool.
I have to ask, is this on the agenda? Because the agenda that I got doesn't show that.
There should be a 6C financial / tax status. I hope I didn't send you the wrong document.
Not good.
Oh yeah, it is on there. I'm sorry.
Is on there? Okay.
But what happens now is when I copy that to another document, it comes.
Oh, the line breaks probably get,
It comes up in reverse.
Oh. Well, that's nice of it.
Really.
Well, I'll deal with it.
Okay, so moving on, scheduled members of the public, Dorothy Maggio will be joining us in a little bit. Unscheduled members of the public, there was no one here physically in the office. There is no one in the waiting room other than Shelby, who is now joining us.
She's joining you?
She's joining online. Hi, Shelby.
Oh, okay.
Or she's about to be joining. She's in the process of joining.
Okay.
So no unscheduled members of the public, which will move us on to 5A, approving the minutes from the April 1st meeting. Since it's so short, let's do it all in its entirety, page 1 and page 2. Gwen, did you have any changes on pages 1 or 2? No changes. Joseph, did you have any changes for pages 1 or 2 of the minutes from April 1st?
No, I don't.
Bruce, did you have any changes for pages 1 or 2?
No, I didn't see any mistakes or anything, no.
And Shelby is, I don't think her audio is there yet. But I'm going to go ahead and assume that she doesn't have anything significant. So I'm gonna make a motion that we approve the minutes from April 1st as they are. Is there a second to that motion?
I second.
Seconded by Gwen. Is there any discussion?
There she is.
Hi, Shelby.
I'm here.
Hi,
I
Dot.
couldn't get the computer wasn't working
Yeah.
to do it, so I'm on my phone instead.
Oh, okay, cool.
That's just an excuse for a late dinner.
Oh, Bruce, if I had eaten, I'd be in a way better mood.
Okay, hey, Shelby, before we vote this, did you have any changes that you wanted to make on the minutes from April 1st?
No, I reviewed it. I didn't see anything.
Okay.
I reviewed it real quick before this.
Okay, cool. Okay, then there's a motion and a second, so all those in favor of approving the minutes from April 1st as they are signify by saying aye.
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 Hi.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, those pass. One thing I would ask, and to clarify for Dot and Shelby would remember this from last time, I'm gonna call on people as we go through things, so in between, when you're not speaking, please mute yourself, just to eliminate some of the background noise as much as possible.
Shelby, what are you doing? You're wrecking my head.
Okay.
Hi, Doc.
All right, so we are moving on to 6A, and Dot Maggio is with us. She has joined online. Most of the rest of us aren't doing video, Dot, because we're just... Peter's seen the haircut I gave myself, but I don't really want anybody else to see it.
Yeah, I can dig it.
Yeah, you'll love
You gotta do hippie people.
it. So...
I can take a ponytail. I'll be there next month.
There you go. So Dot, we wanted to talk a little bit about, there's been a few different situations related to the dogs on Papoose Lane, so maybe do you want to just kind of give people a bit of a recap of what has been going on recently? And I'm going to unmute you. You're currently muted, just so you know. But now you're unmuted.
All right, perfect. Well, as you know, we've, this year I had to write several municipal tickets against the dog owner on 6 Papoose Lane because of various violations. We had a good, I think 8 violations were issued in December, January, and another one in February. I have it in front of me because I can print it out, I don't know if you can see it. Judiciary Board, the tickets that were the first set of tickets, tickets 116732 to 116738. Those tickets that were filed legally, the defendant is given 21 days to respond. The defendant failed to answer. A letter was sent to the defendant, and on the 26th of February, for the second set of tickets, he had a municipal failure to pay. So the paperwork trail that they have online, which I can easily to follow, it says this non-trial disposition of all of the tickets with Matthew Proof or disclosed payment is due. So the Judiciary Bureau found him through lack of commitment. He never followed through on the tickets. They found him to be guilty by default. They'll be going after him for these $600 some odd of fines plus court costs for those 8 tickets. I've had 2 other incidents with the dogs. One in February with Mr. Dutton found a dog loose on Hill Road. He called up and through an issue with where I was and where the dog was, another neighbor recognized the dog and brought it back to 6 Papoose Lane. Joseph did not write a complaint, so no ticket was issued for that violation. And then I got a call from Sunny Lane, Susie's Little Peanuts the other day, that a dog was walking around in their yard for quite a while, and I went to start looking for the dog, and I was waiting for a car to pass me in front of the church, our meeting house. And that car actually pulled up next to me and said, "Have you seen a dog?" I didn't recognize the man. It turned out to be a gentleman by the name of Nate. I understand he might be the cousin of Matt Group. He was out looking for the same dog that was reported missing. So I got his phone number and continued looking for the dog, couldn't find it, went home, and then I got an email from Carrie Bourne's wife, Barbara, that her husband was devastated that he just hit and killed a dog up by his house, and that he was offered to bury the dog, and unbury it. I found out who owned the dog. So I called this gentleman, Nate, told him, put him in contact with Carrie, and then Carrie called me. I didn't believe that a young man went
Dot, sorry, your audio is breaking up some, Dot. Can I suggest you shut off your video?
She's still talking.
If you go down,
Okay,
yeah.
so make a long story short, he's been issued his pilot citations. He ignored the citations. He did get them because he called to complain. The Judicial Bureau sent a reminder letter. He ignored that. He's been found guilty. They will go after and collect the fees associated with that. The two most recent issues with his loose dogs, no one has written another complaint about it, so I haven't issued any more tickets. One dog is dead. So it's not really good for the dog's life, but
Yeah.
Does she know the name
We're
of
doing
that
what we
dog?
have to do.
Dot, were you able to identify what dog, is it a dog that was licensed?
Yep, all of his dogs were licensed last year. We had the state police back me up on getting all of the dogs licensed
So we need to
late
take it
in
off the list.
September, but they were licensed. This is the older dog, about 11 years old. It has cancer. It's the dog I have caught the most since I've lived here. I've probably caught it 5 times and brought it to the shelter.
Do you remember the name, Dot?
Or
I
the
wrote it down,
number.
I don't have it in front of me, but I think I emailed Guy, or no, I emailed David, I CC'd you, but I can get you the dog's name.
Did you mention it?
I'll give you a call sometime with the list, because there's a couple I need to ask you about from when I was making phone calls to kind of update the dog tag licenses. So I'll talk to you later about it.
Perfect, and I have to say, Gwen, I did get a call from somebody that you called to remind them, and they thought you were very, very nice and wanted to commend you, so thank you for doing that for
You're welcome.
So that's our issue. If someone does make a complaint to me, I'll try to do what I can and contact the owners. If I get a written, if someone will fill out a form, then I will go and issue a ticket, and that has not happened recently.
Okay. I guess let's just go around. Gwen, do you have any questions for Dot to follow up on that? Bruce, any questions for Dot to follow up?
No, nice work, Dot. I've looked at pain in the neck doing all this. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Welcome.
Joseph, any questions?
Yeah, I just have one, Dot. You were kind of breaking up when you were talking about what happened with Carrie. I was just curious, everything's okay with Carrie between him and the dog owner and everything, right?
Carrie did not get to speak with the dog owner because he was out of town. Carrie's got to speak with the young man, the cousin of the dog's owner, whose name is Nate, who was out looking for the dog. And Carrie and coordinated the dog's body placement with Nate, Matt.
Okay.
Shelby, any questions for Dot?
hello?
Yeah, you're unmuted now, sorry.
Me? No.
Shelby, hang on.
Shelby.
Yeah, I said I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, Carrie now.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, I said just thank you, but no questions. It sounds like it's been rough, but you're handling it really well, that's all.
Well, as the weather gets warmer and there's more outdoor time, I might be getting more complaints for dog barking. I did get a complaint about automatic gunfire. That's out of my league. That's on that residence.
Oh, boy, I heard that.
Yes.
Oh, boy, I heard that. Someone's been going crazy.
So, I just recommend them to call the state police in that situation and complain. But other than that, all's good in Brooklineville.
Thank you, Don.
Thanks very much, Dot, we really appreciate
You're
it.
welcome. I'm
just a-
sorry that we couldn't meet in
Oh,
person.
sorry.
You guys are doing great with using the Zoom. Thank you very much.
Hang on one second, Dot, I think Guy has a question.
Just a quick question, Dot. Will you be available for a phone call tomorrow morning?
Depends upon who's gonna make the call. Yes, of course. Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk to you and find out what you needed for a list of
Wait a
the...
minute. You told me 9:30, Dot. What's this? You changed your ways? You drink coffee earlier now?
No, I'm here during regular business hours.
Okay,
Thanks, Dot.
thank you. See you later.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye, Dot.
Bye. So just a heads up to people that Shelby just got disconnected, but she's calling back in. She just chatted to let people know that. We can still slowly start to move to 7B, which is traffic speed issues. Let's hold off just 1 second though. Let's let her get back in before we start with that. So tap on my keyboard.
It's actually 6B.
Yeah, did I say 6B? Or
You
did I
said
say-
7B.
Sorry, I meant
so
6B.
find it.
Sorry. I'm just gonna mix up all the numbers and letters. Okay, Shelby, come on, Shelby. All right, well, let's go ahead and start discussing it, and she can join us. So,
Okay.
Joseph, do you want to sort of kick that off and let us know what the latest is as far as what you've seen and any conversations or details you've gotten from any law enforcement about the situation?
Yeah, so I guess just to start it off, I'm not sure if everyone else has seen people driving recklessly over the last couple of weeks. I know that since the stay-at-home order came out, I've seen a pretty substantial increase in what I would just call reckless driving. I know that where I live and where my parents' farm is kind of a hot spot, not only for just how the road is, people like to fly around that, and it's a pretty dangerous spot, but also just kind of where it is. I think a lot of the cars are coming from Merrill Drive and then just heading out of town. I've spoken to quite a few people in town, my neighbors as well as people all over town, and I know some of my neighbors, I've got some neighbors that have some young children, and they're absolutely terrified of letting their kids go outside. They think that we need to have law enforcement present to handle the situation. Some people, a couple people on the other side of town, one lady that I was talking to, she was almost hit the other day on her bicycle. She actually fell off her bike.
Ooh.
She was almost struck by like an orange sports car. I just feel as though it's really getting out of hand. There's like 4 trucks that I've seen, and 3 or 4 trucks that I've seen in the last couple of weeks. I don't recognize the people in them. They're in their 20s, I would assume, and it's not just going in and out of town. It's I think they're just bored and they're racing around. People are straight up just stopping in the middle of the road and burning out. And the other day I was at lunch and a little black car and a motorcycle were racing back and forth past my house. In the period of 10 minutes, they went past my house 4 separate times going.
Jeez.
They must have been going 80 miles an hour at least.
Whoa.
I'm absolutely serious about that. They were going ridiculously fast. And yeah, I mean, I guess that's what I've seen, and it bothers me, but I wanted to speak with the other residents of the town to see how everyone else felt, and a lot of people are really scared, and it's really bothering a lot of people. And I'll say personally, well, we've all seen car crashes in Brookline, and for a small town, I think that we have kind of a rough history with traffic in this town. And I know personally, I've helped peel a dead body up off the roads in this town, and I think that was years back. But my point is that it's not as though nothing ill has ever come of the reckless driving in this town. I think that people know that we don't have a police presence here, and they take advantage of it. And I think we're lucky that any bystanders have not been injured at this point. And I think that it's a very realistic possibility that you know, a pedestrian could get injured or killed. Yeah, that's what I've seen. That's my thoughts on it, and that's kind of what I've heard from other people around the town. So I spoke to the sheriff just the other day, and he was going to send me an email with some specifics on pricing and everything. He hasn't gotten it over to me yet, but he believes that right now their price is $51 an hour until July, and then he thinks that price is going up after July to $52 an hour. That pays for the deputy and the vehicle and all their insurances and all that.
Right.
He says that for the most part, the minimum contract that they sign is about 2 hours a week. He says that they could fulfill that if we wanted to contract them for that. Again, he was going to send me specifics, but he said possibly if we wanted to, we could contract with them until July at the one rate. If we wanted some police presence immediately, and then rewrite another contract. And then I guess the last thing from him that's worth mentioning and warrants conversation in the future is since he's a new sheriff, one of the things he's been trying to work with the towns on is I guess getting like a cooperative, community-oriented police force. And just the quick little info on that is he wants towns to kind of band together to split the cost of having full-time deputies. So that really is going to be a conversation for the future. But he was thinking like if Newfane, Townsend, Brookline, and Athens all kind of had 2 full-time deputies and split the cost fairly amongst the towns. So that's something that he has on his radar for the future, and I figured I'd just mention it.
Okay. Can I ask, had you had any conversation with the state police about the situation?
I have not.
Okay.
as we know, I know that the state police have been in the town, and
Right, and they were here today.
They're here on a regular basis.
Down the line. I think it was about 2 days later, it was Stady coming down Hill Road towards Johnny Swings.
yeah, they
At 2:30, about 2:30 in the afternoon.
Yeah, they drive through every now and then. I'm not 100% sure how long they are in the town. I would expect it's probably less than 2 hours a week. But I do know that they're pretty understaffed themselves. I guess my thought is if we want to have a police presence, whether it be now or in the future, it might be more beneficial to work with the sheriff, but I think it's tough either way, especially in the short term.
Right, I mean, a couple of things just to give some historical perspective. Like we said, we used to contract with the state police up until a couple of years ago to be in the town for 1 hour a week. Though we know based on the reporting that they did towards the end of that contract that they rarely were actually here for even an hour a week because of their staffing issues. And then as of a couple of years ago, in good conscience, they said they couldn't offer us a contract anymore because they knew they couldn't fulfill it. I will say as an aside that many towns in the region were in the same situation with the sheriff's department previously, which is why many towns used to contract with the sheriff for similar enforcement, but also because of shortages and because of not getting the service, people stopped doing that. What I'll say for myself, I saw a state police officer sitting with a speed trap in Sunny Lane in the Susie's Little Peanuts parking lot today. When I ran by the guy both times. So there was someone here at about 12:30, a trooper, sitting in the parking lot watching for speeders. Guy, did you reach out to the state police?
No, I haven't spoken with Lieutenant French, but this issue, as you said, has come up before. And it's a police issue, and pretty much almost every town in the area has the same sort of problems with speeders. The bottom line is that I've seen the state police here, I've seen them at the office where they'll spend a half hour, 40 minutes. I've spoken with them. The fact that we don't have a contract, as the state police said, doesn't mean that they don't show up.
Right.
And if enough people, to me, if people start complaining on a regular basis, calling the state police, they will probably get some sort of satisfaction. Because if someone gets hurt, it's on the state police because they'll be notified that they've been called many, many times about it. So it's important that people keep calling the state police. And if you can truly identify the vehicle, the person, that certainly helps. So that's
Right. I mean, to clarify slightly, I mean, and I'm simplifying the situation somewhat, but the state police do have an obligation to investigate crime in the town or wherever, and to react to speed issues and traffic safety issues. The situation with the sheriff is a different one, that I'm not sure that the sheriff's department, quite frankly, will do anything for the town without a contract and being paid specifically to do it.
I would
So
say
it is a different situation. Though they may be more readily, I mean, I guess what I'd say is it's entirely possible that the state police, if we could target and we could specify, narrow the scope of what times of day and what areas these things are happening, they also might be able to provide some solutions. But no, they're probably not going to be willing to just have someone stay here for a specified amount of time for an amount of money the way the sheriff's department will. But obviously there are financial implications to doing that. The other thing I'll remind people is we used to budget like I say, we used to budget $3,000 or so a year
Yeah, 3,500.
for an hour a week of traffic enforcement. We no longer do that. We now have about $500 or $600 in the budget for police enforcement. So if we were to go to a more robust effort of contracting with someone, we'd have to figure out where that money would come from. Because at $51 an hour, obviously, that's gonna get us about a day and a half of somebody before we would have exhausted what we've currently budgeted and what is budgeted for the next fiscal year. Shelby, we'll go around and just get people's thoughts after that. Shelby, what's your thinking at the moment about the situation and whatever comments you have?
I don't know, it's hard, because I think I definitely agree it's an issue, and I don't want there to be safety concerns in the town, but like I said, I would be really interested to see if I know you said that out loud, the proposal of the amount of money per hour, but I guess I would just be interested to see, if they really do have time to do it right now. I'm wondering if they have time, if they can be more flexible in the price as a kind of intro rate, and also wondering, I guess I'd have to look over the budget again to see where that money could come from. So for expenses like this that come up last minute, that aren't budgeted for, how are they typically, like, is there a usual way that it's dealt with? Is there something usually looked first for the funding? How does that work?
I mean, under different circumstances, we would potentially look to see in other areas where we know we're going to come in under budget for other operation-related stuff. I'll say, not that this is necessarily, given what we're about to discuss in the next item, we're in a potentially precarious financial situation, depending on what happens with taxes that are paid or not paid shortly. So where we might have more flexibility in our budget in normal times, I'm not sure what kind of flexibility. I don't know that we can make assumptions that excess money we have elsewhere can necessarily be used for anything at this moment. But I'll echo that I agree it's a problem, and we should try to figure out what we can do about the problem. I mean, one question I had, and I don't know, this may be difficult, but are we able to, I've not personally witnessed any of this, I'll say. I don't live on Grassy Brook Road, although I do run on Grassy Brook Road an awful lot, and as luck would have it, I've not encountered any of these situations other than what I would describe as routine speeding that practically every car that drives in this town does. But are we able to narrow, are there particular times of day or days of the week when the real racing cars are going around? I mean, or is it truly all times of day and all days of the week? Joseph, I guess I'll ask you since you've probably witnessed as much, if not more of it, as anyone else.
Yeah, well, I guess from what I've seen over the last couple of weeks, it seems to be going on from about 11 a.m. to 5. I think is kind of where I've seen most of the racing. But then, like the other night, I was walking my dog at 9:30, and someone was racing back and forth and burning out over by Merrill Drive. So I mean, it is a little bit random, but most of this the stuff that I think is also the most dangerous has been going on right in the middle of the day. And the reason why I'm concerned about it and why most of the people I've spoken to are concerned about it is because that, especially with the stay-at-home order is the time of day that people are out walking their dogs on the road, going for a jog, and walking with their kids. But yeah, I mean, that's what I've seen.
Okay. Hang on, Gwen. What's your thinking about?
Joseph, I have a question for you. Have other people other than yourself complained to the police department? I, for one, am like David. I haven't seen it, but I live at the other end of Grassy Brook Road, and I am in a stay-at-home order, so I have been staying home.
Good girl.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure how many people have complained to the police. I know that some of my neighbors have called the state police, and I wasn't sure. I guess I didn't know that the Stadies have been in town quite as much as they have been, from the sounds of it. So it's possible that they're here because of complaints that they've received. I think one of the things that we could do in the short term is at least speak with the state police and let them know that if they do have the time to be in our town, even for a short period of time, maybe where they could sit to catch the people who are the most dangerous, and what times of day that they do pose the most danger to the town. That even if they can't be there at those times or in those places, it's certainly helpful information for them to have.
And so you've seen this very frequently by your farm on Grassy Brook?
Yeah, I the last couple of weeks I have been at the greenhouses for like 12 hours a day, so I can hear everything going by, and I can look out and see the road, and yeah, people have been, it's been very frequent over the last 3 weeks.
There's tire marks there at as you come off the bridge. They've done some wheelies there. I noticed that today when we came back.
Yeah, when it's up.
Yeah.
There's only one or two that are probably doing it.
Bruce, sorry, I haven't given you a chance. What's your thinking on this, feeling on this?
A couple of things. Just a little history.
We don't want history.
What's that? Just a minute. Nothing. Somebody beeping me, and it's nobody. Just a little history. If I remember correctly, we had the sheriff's department first, and I can't remember if it was the sheriff's department or and then we weren't happy with the sheriff's department because they were becoming unreliable. We couldn't predict what time that they were going to come. This is going back 6 years ago, and then sooner or later we went to the state police, and then of course they stopped it. But if I remember correctly, and Guy can corroborate this, see if I'm right here, that it was 7 hours a month for about $3,200 or $3,500. Is that right, Guy?
It was a couple hours a month. You're correct, and we had a budget amount set at $3,500, $3,600 actually, and they pretty much fulfilled their obligation.
Yeah, but the problem with this is, and this is what I'm not saying now, is why I was really not in favor of doing either one of them anymore, because they were so unpredictable and they really weren't solving the freaking problem. But anyway, times have changed, and now that we got coronavirus in the neighborhood, and hopefully not in the neighborhood, but the kids are acting like it is, and it's kind of it's even more unpredictable as to when they're going to race around town. I know what I've experienced. I'm not on Grassy Brook Road a lot. Only when I go over Sunny Lane or go over to the town office, every once in a while I go past where Doc lives and stuff, but not very much. But Hill Road, kids have a tendency to rip pretty good. And I've noticed a huge amount of times happening, but it's been happening in the last 3 weeks. And I think it's all testifying to the kids are out of school. You know, they got nothing to do, and they got a car, and it's a fast one, and they're ripping it right along, burning rubber. I'm seeing rubber marks all over the road. You know, they're really having a good time. And then you got which is not to do with this, but something mentioned about the guns, the shooting last weekend on Easter was incredulous. I couldn't freaking believe it. The insensitivity of the person on Easter Sunday. It's bad enough nobody could go to church, anybody that does go to church in this state anyway, which is few, they're ripping along with a freaking gun all afternoon. But anyway, that has nothing to do with what we're talking about. So my only take on it was what just I said about the past and what I've seen on Hill Road.
Okay. I guess, and sorry, to circle back, Joseph, so and forgive me, now I've forgotten already. Have you called the state police yourself about what you've witnessed?
No, I haven't spoken.
Okay, I would encourage you to do that, because, and I mean, quite frankly, you know, we could have Guy give them a call as well, but the more people who've actually witnessed this and can speak to specifics about what they've seen and report, I mean, I would be very surprised if their presence in the town because I'll say, the trooper I saw today, I run that same route 4 times a week for the last year. I've literally never seen a trooper sitting there until today. It's hard for me to believe that it isn't a reaction to the fact that they've been getting calls from people and people have made them aware of some problems. So the more people that do that, right, the more they're going to understand it's something that they need to deal with. And the slight side benefit of that is we then get at least some traffic enforcement without the town actually having to pay for it, which is not.
If we could identify a vehicle, at least a color and, you know, the type of car, all that information we could feed to the police, that will help them even better.
So Joseph, maybe when you're talking to these other people that you've talked to about the speeding, suggest to them that they personally call the police? So like we said, maybe the more people that call, then they're gonna pay attention.
Can I chime in when people are done? I have one more thing to say.
Yeah, Joseph, sorry, do you have just to follow back up to give you a chance since we've all been asking you to do things?
I think that's an excellent idea, and I haven't seen the state police in the town as several of you have, and I think that that's good to know, and I would assume that it has something to do with complaints that they've been getting. I definitely think that that's an excellent idea, and probably our best course of
for now
action considering the financial situation. So I'll definitely give them a call and let them know what I've been seeing, and I'll certainly tell the people I've spoken to that are concerned the same thing. I guess I just have one question, probably for Guy. Is there a trooper that has worked with Brookline in the past specifically?
No, there's been change of personnel since they moved the barracks up to Westminster. I used to know the cops on a regular, 2 or 3 of the state police on a regular basis. They would stop in and we'd chat for a while. But now there's been change of personnel. They've been reassigned to different places. There's a lot of changes. But if you want, I can give Lieutenant French a call and ask him, is there anything that we can help him to do his job?
Yeah,
I think that the more communication, the better. But I'll definitely call up to the barracks, and again, I assume that they're busy. But if they have been in town, then it would certainly be helpful for them to have more information. So I'll definitely speak with them.
Well, as I said, the key to this is the more people who lodge complaints, I think that will generate some interest on the police department side to come and take a look and see what's going on.
Bruce, you wanted to say one more thing?
Yeah, I do want to say one last thing. About 2 years ago, and Guy and Glenn will remember this whole discussion because I was coming home, past Johnny Swing's going home. I just about ran over a road by a 20-some-odd-year-old, I think, woman on Hill Road at about 3 o'clock, and I chased her all the way, and she lives at Sunny Lane. I took down her, didn't get her name, and we went at it a little bit, and I stayed my distance because I was now approaching being on her land. I took down her the license plate and car and everything. I called the state police and they said, okay, thank you, have a nice day.
Don't do that.
I guess what I'm trying to say in a nice way is don't get your hopes up. They might squish you, as my wife is saying, and say, oh, okay, well, we'll take care of it. But given the experience, that one experience I had when I had a legitimate complaint, and I told them I was a select board member, I told them what I saw, and I told them I didn't have the person's name, but I had the car and his license plate number, they weren't interested. That's just what happened. Gladly to remember, because
A lot of times, Bruce, a lot of times they say one thing but do another. They don't put all their cards out on the table.
They didn't do anything that time, guy.
Okay,
Yeah.
I know.
Yep, that's fair enough.
Yep.
Okay, any last thoughts from anyone on this before we move on? We'll put it back on the agenda for next time, just to touch base and see what we may have heard, or
Revisit it.
and just keep tabs on the situation, as it is certainly something we need to keep an eye on. Okay, moving on to 6C, financial tax status. So, obviously we have the fourth real estate tax payment for the town coming up May 15th. We, in theory, as far as we're aware, shortly thereafter have a large school tax payment that is due from the town. I spoke with Sarah. So far, she's received no communication from the school district about that bill. She also went back through the last couple of years of records as far as anything that might be incoming revenues around this time. And there's not really anything that we're expecting to have coming into us other than tax payments, hopefully, from taxpayers on May 15th. We obviously still have another meeting prior to that date. We have a meeting May 6th. One thing that I guess I want to make sure people are clear on, in case, so there's no confusion, the at town meeting, the voters set the dates that the taxes are collected. We have no ability to, exactly, we had that brutally painful discussion about it. We have no ability to change that unless we were to call a special town meeting, which, given the stay home order, would, if not be impossible, would be an extremely bad idea at the very least. So,
Can't do it.
right. The tax due date is the tax due date. I think we all wonder whether we might have more delinquencies after this payment than we normally have because of the financial situation that many people are under, most people are under. But I guess I'll say from my standpoint, we don't know what the problem might be until we see what tax payments we get and then figure out what we need to figure out. But Guy, I guess, as the clerk and an assistant treasurer and the delinquent tax collector, what's your feeling at the moment as we approach the final tax payment of the year?
Well, as I said, the town has been smart and they stopped any major projects that we're doing. Financially, we're okay to be able to pay the education bill, which will be due in June. We may have to borrow some money from some other funds, but we have the funds to do that. As far as the tax collection itself, the revenue coming in, it's really hard to say how impacted our town has been with this whole coronavirus thing. By the 15th of May, 16th of May, 18th of May, we'll have a better idea because, as I said, 80% of our tax collection is basically for education. So it's really hard to say. It's, my crystal ball is a little hazy. The bottom line is that at this point we're okay. But going forward, another can of worms is gonna be how we're gonna be able to set the tax rate for the August 15th payment.
August.
Right, so,
Yeah.
but that, you know, we're gonna get some language from the state, and they'll tell us what to do, what not to do. Looking at the 15th of May, I'm only hopefully, I've seen some payments come in already, but I'm hopeful that people will realize their obligation and be able to make their tax payment. But I think we're in good shape, and like I say, most of the major products have been put on hold.
And so to clarify on that, just to make the point, and I'm not sure that I know that I CC'd Bruce as the vice chair and Guy on this as well, but we've reached out to Wyndham Regional Commission to make sure they understand that we're putting anything about the salt and sand shed that hasn't already happened, as far as Ron Bell has already done a certain amount of work on the plans for which we will pay him, but no other work is going to start on that project for the time being. The project manager, Marion Major, unfortunately has moved on from the Wyndham Regional Commission to another agency, but Chris Campany, the executive director, has taken over the communications of that, and he's communicated that to the state project manager as well. We're in the same situation as virtually every other municipality, because basically all municipalities have been told, if they weren't already going to do it, to stop all project work for the time being. Gwen, what's your feeling at the moment as we approach this, as far as the financial situation and the potential tax situation?
I think we just have to wait and see how much it affects us after the 15th. Maybe we'll know more by the 6th, but.
Right, but probably not know a lot until the meeting on the 20th, really.
Right.
Bruce, what's your feeling?
I had a question, probably Guy can answer this. The 8.5% fine that's levied for people who are delinquent, is that set by the town or the state?
No, the delinquent tax collector sets that. The maximum that the delinquent tax collector can set is 8%. And he can,
8%.
And normally, even though the tax collector does have that leverage, I like to work in concert with the select board and say, what do you think? And a lot is gonna be based upon what we collect, because it would not be fair to people who went out of their way to make their payment, and then people who, for whatever reasons, some people just don't like to pay taxes. So it's gonna be something that we're just gonna have to see come May 15th, but we do have leverage. The reason that the 8% for some towns is set in stone is because a lot of delinquent tax collectors get paid by collecting at 8%. In our town, I wouldn't do it if it was that way, because it's like bounty hunting. I don't want to do that.
Yeah, really.
I just want to get
It used to be that way.
Yeah, I know, but
years ago.
In the way I'm doing it, I would not accept it that way. The bottom line is that we have an hourly rate, and it works pretty well. We've been very fortunate. We have no delinquent taxes that we're going forward with, where some towns have astronomical amounts. So we're lucky in that respect.
So to clarify your point, Bruce, because town voters do not set the percentage, the delinquent tax collector has the flexibility, probably in conjunction with the select board, to discuss changing that potentially, depending on the situation, but it doesn't make sense to decide that.
If somebody's having a real problem and comes to Guy and say, I'm having a real problem, I haven't got my rescue check or whatever, and because I'm empathetic to the fact that there's a lot of people unemployed. 60,000 people in the state of Vermont became unemployed. It's leveled off now, but they were really going at it there for 3 weeks. So I don't know how many are in Brookline, but I just was saying that we should consider being as compassionate as we can to people that deserve it.
Right, but we have to do, if we do for one, we must do for all.
Well, I'm just saying that, if a person's got a problem, he comes to you or she comes to you and says, it's going to be another week or something. Well, I would almost just seeing as it is under control of the select board and the treasurer, that we should handle it on a case-by-case basis. A person got a real problem.
Well, to clarify, I don't think it is under the control. It's under the control of the delinquent tax collector, who the townspeople have elected. I think historically, the delinquent tax collector has thought it made sense to possibly have discussions in some circumstances with the select board, but the delinquent tax collector is not obligated to do that. It's his job to collect the delinquent taxes. So, Joseph, yeah, sorry, what's your thinking about this whole situation?
I certainly think we should be forgiving and compassionate with people if they can't make their, if they can't pay their taxes right away. But I would assume, and I don't know this, but the penalty rate is for everybody, right? I mean, it doesn't seem like it would be legal to adjust it on a case-by-case basis.
No, as I said, if it's 8%, it's 8% for everybody. If it's 4%, it's 4%. I'm not allowed to do a case-by-case. If a person cannot pay their taxes, their other recourse is to go to an abatement hearing. And then that would require, the select board and so forth. But, let's just wait for the 15th. I'm prepared that I think we're gonna have a pretty good turnout for taxes, and I think we'll be okay. There will always be that 25 that for whatever reason won't pay, but eventually I'll get a hold of them and talk to them and we'll be okay.
And it's not really delinquent for a year, right?
No, it's delinquent the day after the 15th.
Okay,
The day after.
and that's when you assess the
Exactly.
percentages?
So Joseph, sorry, back to you. Had you finished your, sorry.
Me?
Joseph.
No, that was just a question I have. I guess since I'm speaking, I'll just say that I certainly agree that it seems as though we're in as good position as we could be, and I guess we just have to wait and see what happens.
Yeah.
Shelby, what's your feeling?
Yeah, I think you kind of wait and see. I think the stimulus money has been trickling in by word on the street, so it just,
Came today.
well, I didn't come for everyone, it started last week.
Right.
We're getting it, and so it's coming through, I guess, but, I guess the hope is that everyone uses stimulus money for the intention, which is supposed to help sustain through these times so people don't get behind. So hopefully people pay because you owe your taxes eventually anyway. Even if you can't pay them, you don't want to pay them right now. And I think we need to wait and see what happens. Because, like I said, I think people are taking this issue very seriously and trying to make it through with as little imposition to their after life as possible, their after Corona life. So I'm hopeful that we won't have huge issues with non-payment. And I don't think that there's much we can do now to plan for that or prepare for that. I think it's something we have to react to.
Okay. Great. Any last thoughts on this before we move on?
No.
All right. Moving on to old business and 7A and then Susie's Little Peanuts update. Bruce, you want to give us a quick anything
Yeah, I
going
can
on?
do that. I received a phone call last Wednesday from Norm Holden, and he would like to start working on the windows. And I told him that I had discussed it with you folks because of the existing situation. I explained to him the way we were thinking as of last meeting about everything being on hold. And he said he'd even do it and not get paid for a while, and you could pay him later. And I told him I wasn't in that approach at all. That either we were going to do it or we weren't going to do it. So I guess what I'm going to do is tell you what I have for numbers in terms of dollar figures of what we got to the account, and put it up for a discussion, and we'll all make a decision on what to do about it. But he is ready to go, and what he wants to do is he wants to take one window at a time, put plywood in it, take it home, rebuild it, and bring it back. So the rest is up to us. He's ready to go. Now, as far as the money goes, not including anything with the capital improvement, the $4,300, because that's a dedicated fund. But just in the budget, the last figure I received from Sarah was on March 1st. And I've been keeping a very direct account of anything that needed to be deducted off of what was in the account. It started off at $12,037. And I did make the deductions for the lawn sewer and drain that was there, the fire line for every month, which, well, there was a one-shot deal for fire phone line, which was $514 that we had to pay back for the last year. And then I included rents, and then I keep following right on down to present day with the deductions for the monthly for the fire alarm, which is now $42.86. So as of May 1, if I have my numbers correct, and they came from Sarah, we will have in our account, even after the deductions, and what I have right now is $14,362.17.
Okay.
So that's what I have. You know what I want to do, but you know, my concern is your concern, so I don't want to do anything that's ridiculous. But
okay, let's just take it.
It's one more thing. It's a maintenance item, and we all have to decide what to do. And I'm gonna leave it right there and hear everybody else's opinion.
Okay, yeah. Let's Gwen, what's your feeling about whether should we move forward with that project or should we wait? What's your thinking, Gwen?
I thought the agreement from last meeting was that we weren't gonna be spending any money at all until we found out what the situation was gonna be with our tax revenue coming in, what bills have to be paid. So I thought the understanding was we wait.
Okay. Joseph, what's your thinking?
I would agree with that. I think that financially it's the safe move to wait, and then also, even though painting the windows is, could be a socially distant job, I'm not 100% sure that the town should be contracting people to work on something that's not immediately essential during the crisis. I think it just kind of is at odds with the state's mandate.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a very good point. Shelby, what's your thinking?
Yeah, I agree. I think that more than just trying to be fiscally conservative right now, it would send really mixed messages. We want people to be staying home. We want people to be not going out and doing things in groups. And even if he's by himself, it's just the idea that, I mean, I drove by the park the other day. People were walking around together, and I drove through town to work, and I was like, oh, that looks so nice. And it already planted it in my head that I wanted to do that, or oh, that doesn't look bad.
There's a lot of knotheads going around right now, Shelby.
Yeah, no,
they're going in with masks on and.
But I think we just don't want to. We don't want to promote that. We want to just try and stick to, the mandate. If it's not essential, it shouldn't be happening.
Yeah. I'll just add, I completely agree with all of you that it's non-essential, and as a municipality, we're not supposed to be doing work that's non-essential, whether we have the money or not. I think it should be held for the time being.
Okay, can I sum up?
Sure.
Okay, this is what I think. I've been thinking about it for a week, and I have a tendency to agree with all of you. I think, given the situation, as emergency as it is, that we do exactly what everybody said, which has just said. I'm going to tell Norm Holden tomorrow just that. And I kind of told him that last week, but I had to quit with everybody.
Cool.
And I think what we should do, considering, is we have a meeting on the 6th, and I believe we have a meeting on the 20th.
Correct.
I think it should be revisited as a part of the agenda on the 20th. At that point in time, there will have been 5 days passed after the taxes, and I'll tell Norm Holden, then I'll call them back on the 21st to let them know what we're doing.
Well, and the other thing I'll say is that if, assuming the timeline doesn't change,
Yeah, right, correct.
the restrictions should be lifted on the May 15th, if all goes well. So
Yeah,
hopefully by the
we're doing
20th,
pretty well in the state. It's level
things
off.
will be different. We'll
But this
see.
county still has 58 positive, as of this afternoon, 58 positive outbreaks, and the state's had 30 deaths. And compared to New York, compared to Massachusetts, which is up to about 800 deaths, I believe, we're doing pretty well. Now, like you said, we don't know what Governor Scott's going to do, but he's definitely, because I follow it a lot, he's erred on the safe. In other words, he didn't say April 15th, okay, we're going to do April 30th. He said April 15th, no, we're going to do May 15th. So he's been really careful. He's done a great job. And I'm in agreement with the rest of you that if you all want me to go about it that way, I'll call Norm and tell him that we're going to revisit it on the 20th, and then I'll call him on the 21st to let him know how we feel with that.
Okay, that sounds good. Any other updates on things for the building?
No, there's a couple of small things. I mentioned that thing about the sprayer on the faucets. I kind of committed myself to replacing the faucet first. She emailed me today and said, you're still going to do it? And I haven't emailed her back, and I said, I'll do it, but you're paying for the faucet. There was a leak in the toddler room that supposedly Scott Bovat's going to go over and take a look next week behind the toilet, but I'm going to beat him to the punch. I think I'm going to go over there tomorrow and see what this leak's all about and see if it's something simple that can be fixed and save $100. And she's bugging me Olivia's bugging me to get sand and wood chips delivered. And I've got Thomas Bloom coming over to my house before the end of the week, giving me another load, so I figured I'd go over and visit that with him and I, and get a price. And maybe I'll email you all with a price and get an opinion, or if you want me to wait to May 6th before we do anything, I'll throw that out to you guys. What do you want me to do with it?
I'll say from my perspective, adding the padding around the playground equipment is a safety concern and something that is essential for the protection of the kids as well as ourselves. So I would be in favor of going ahead and doing that, despite the situation we're in.
That's what I was thinking.
Gwen, how do you feel about that?
I agree.
Shelby, how do you feel about that?
Shelby? We lost her, I think.
Nah, she's just still muted.
She's sleeping.
My screen keeps falling asleep between times, so then I have to wake it back up when I need to unmute myself. So anyway, no, I agree. I think the wood chip sounds like a safety concern, so those would be fine to happen now, I think.
Joseph, how do you feel?
Yeah, that works for me.
Okay, lastly, I'm going to monitor the part about the cost, so it doesn't get out of hand.
Yeah.
Because this is starting to be a recurring thing every year. She wants wood chips, she wants sand. And we've allowed ourselves locked into it because it's grandfathered, because we've done it before. So I'm going to I got a really good rapport with Thomas, and I'm going to tell him, give him a shot. I don't want to see a bill next year.
Well,
this is getting
yeah, the other thing that we need to keep in mind, and I know we don't necessarily have equipment that could do this, but maybe Thomas could help us out at some point, depending on it, is the requirement is for there to be, I believe, a 6-inch depth of loose fill around those things. And the problem with using sand and even wood chips is that after a year or so, they compact. But that doesn't mean at a certain point that we can't scrape that to loosen it up to then have it be soft fill again. That's what a lot of people do. We don't necessarily year after year have to be in a situation of adding material, but we'll see.
I'll go with probably tomorrow. I'll go to I got 5 claws. You know the claws? I got like 5 of them. I'll bring my baby, and I'll go over there and I'll do some digging and see what she's got for deaths, and then I'll approach it after that. But if I don't feel it's substantial, I'll add more. But if it is substantial,
Right. And we should err on the side of safety. I'm not saying we should skip on that.
I'm not gonna.
Oh yeah, no, I know.
I'm not gonna ship her out of where she needs to have happen. We just might look that we don't do it. Some kid falls and cracks his head. We don't need that stuff. It's for what, $200 or $100? That's stupid stuff. No, I'm gonna go over there and address your concern, Dave. And in response to what I said about being, I won't say hassled, but I asked every year about doing this and see if we can do a little bit more of a better job, maybe, so that we don't have to do it every year. And also, someone's got to do it.
Right.
What did we do in the past? I don't remember. Did Gary LaForga do it?
Last year, Gary, Mark, and I did it, or 2 years ago, whenever that was. We had a load.
I think it was last year, wasn't it?
I can't even remember I think it might have been the year before last. I'm not sure we did it last year, but maybe.
I'm going to ask Thomas if he can do it reasonably in terms of cost. If that becomes an issue, I'll reach out to you all, and we'll have to. I don't know if we can get Gary again to spread it, but it's. Let me see. I don't know what tractor rates are right now. Maybe Joseph knows. What's it got to be? $40-50 an hour, Joseph? Any idea?
Doesn't matter now.
For what?
For a tractor. Having somebody.
I don't rent tractors.
Yeah. My guess was a backhoe was like $75-80 an hour. I've been out of the loop for quite a while, so I'm not sure.
And that's for something down the road anyway. So yeah.
What? I'm sorry?
I think that's something down the road. I think now you have a solution that you're working on with Thomas to provide material, to put down material, and that's good enough. We can think about how to make it more efficient in the future. Yeah,
but I mean, initially, Dave, about spreading it now, we don't have anybody to do it. I'd have to ask Thomas to do it. And it's not going to be just dumping the stuff. He's going to spread it too. I imagine it wouldn't cost a huge amount of money, $100-$150.
Could also ask Gary.
I think you're right. See what the material is, and then maybe we can, maybe we can talk with Gary, and we can figure something out.
Because he's out before in the past.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, Mark and Gary and I did it in 2 hours the last time we did it. Once we had the material, and we might be able to arrange that again.
Then okay. So.
But let's get the material first, and then we'll figure out that plan. Let's just.
You broke up. I didn't know what you said, Dave.
Let's get the material first, and then we can make a plan of how we spread it.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. We'll do that. I'll keep you all posted.
Cool. Okay. Anything else?
That's it for me.
That's it. Okay. Cool. All right.
I believe that's it for me. Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
One way anyway.
Moving on to Mr. Tanza, your town clerk update.
Dog licenses, we have about 85 dogs that are licensed. They've come in a little slow because for whatever reason, I think a lot of people are stressed out with what's going on in the world. But I just want to remind everybody that they are due by April 1st, which is come and gone. We are backdating them to 3/31 to eliminate any late charges. I'd like to continue to do that, but there's another 25 or 30 dogs that need to be registered, and if you're having any problems, just give us a call, let us know. It's made basically for the safety of the animals and safety of the people in our town, that rabies is a nasty disease and we don't need a dog to have anybody to get bitten by. So hopefully we'll hear from you soon. And everything else is running along. Elections, like I say, are in the state's control. I'm waiting to have some sort of language from them. And we're just on a kind of a holding pattern, doing each day as it comes.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you, Guy. Okay, moving on, highways and roads, Mark is not here. I have exchanged a couple of voicemails with Mark. Haven't spoken to him, but exchanged a couple of voicemails. He understands about I brought him up to speed on the paving being on hold, and he understands that, thinks that all makes sense. He is really only doing what he and the state would deem to be essential maintenance at the moment, which is grading roads to keep them passable. There are some repairs that need to be made to the grader, and I told him to go ahead and buy the parts that he needed in order to make those repairs, because we need that equipment to be working in order for him to be able to maintain anything. But other than that, nothing significant is going on. All of the anything grant related has been put on hold by the state, and we have a few grant related things that we're waiting on doing that we'll see what happens with that. But otherwise, that's pretty much what's going on with Mark at the moment. Moving on to communications. Emails, I made a couple of notes. I didn't actually print out a bunch of the emails because there are so many of them. A couple of things to highlight though. I mentioned that I've had communication with the Wyndham Regional Commission and also State V-Trans about putting any future activity on the salt sand shed on hold, and everyone's understanding of that, so that is all on hold for the moment. Another thing that was communicated to me just yesterday was that the strolling of the heifers, they have pretty much postponed all of their events for June, including the bike race. So the bike race that was going to come through Brookline in June is no longer going to happen in June. It may get rescheduled for later in the year. They're not sure, but in any event, it isn't happening June 7th anyway. The parade is off and various other things.
Excuse me, by the way, I've had
Yes.
2 phone calls into Sicily in regards to the race, and she hasn't returned, so I'm glad you...
Yeah, she just sent me an email a couple days ago.
Okay.
Which kind of out of the blue. The other thing I wanted to mention is the broadband survey that the Regional Commission completed, and the full results of the survey are on the Regional Commission's website if anybody wants to look at it. Brookline ended up with about, according to their numbers, about 30% household participation, which is quite good. It's higher than most of the towns. The results of the survey showed that 81% of the people who completed the survey anyway had broadband through cable. The separate investigation showed that 94% of the homes in our town are served by cable, which essentially means, like we talked about before, we are not really an underserved or unserved community compared to many of the other towns in the region. So the process of this towards forming a communication union district and things like that really aren't going to make sense for us or for a business to try to make money here like it will be in some of the other towns. But anyway, thanks again to everyone who participated in that survey. It was very useful information for them, and they're very appreciative of it. So that was really the main email stuff. There's one piece of physical mail, which is about the Vermont Economy Project, which is doing now Zoom meetings, several Wednesdays, I guess, in April. And the details are all on the Brattleboro Development Corporation website. That is the only piece of physical mail. Which brings us to pay orders. So like we did last time, I'll go around and make sure everyone has had a chance to review them, and if anybody has any questions. So first up is the payroll warrant. Before I make the motion, I guess I'd ask Gwen, have you had a chance to review the payroll warrant? Do you have any questions?
No.
Bruce, have you had a chance to review the payroll warrant, and do you have any questions?
Yes and no.
Yes, you've reviewed it. No, you don't have any questions.
Correct.
Okay. Joseph, have you reviewed it, and do you have any questions?
I have reviewed it and I do not have any questions.
Okay. Shelby, how about you? Have you reviewed it? Do you have any questions?
Same, reviewed it, no questions.
Okay. Then I'd like to make a motion that we approve payroll warrant 2020-42 dated April 15th, 2020 in the amount of $1,077.42. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Shelby. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving payroll warrant 2020-42 dated April 15th, 2020 in the amount of $1,077.42 signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? The payroll warrant is approved. The two members who are here physically will sign it. Now we move on to the accounts payable warrant. So that was just sent out a couple hours ago, or an hour ago. So I'll do the same thing. Gwen, have you had a chance to review the accounts payable warrant?
Yes.
Do you have any questions?
No.
Bruce, have you had a chance to review the accounts payable warrant, and do you have any questions?
Yes and no.
Okay. Joseph, have you reviewed it? Do you have any questions?
I have reviewed it and I'm just curious, what exactly is the disaster relief payment?
That is the NEMRIC backup system that every evening at 11 o'clock, NEMRIC backs up all our NEMRIC modules. We've been doing that for years, and it certainly is a fail-safe. God forbid there was a catastrophic crash of the computers. We still do have backup on our computers anyway, but this is a secondary, well actually it's the most important one, because that's all our finances, our taxes, our land records, everything. So that's what that represents.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, Joseph?
No.
Shelby, have you had a chance to review the accounts payable warrant, and do you have any questions?
Yeah, and I was just wondering, what is 14 hours hauling for ASR, their second invoice we have for them? What is the hauling bit of the contract?
14 hours hauling.
Yeah, I think it was, let me look at the invoice. Yeah, I think this.
It's like an extra $4.25 for the hauling, so I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah, so it was for hauling of stone from Sasasimo that we got during the height of the mud season situations in order to be able to get stone to deal with Whitney Hill and Athens Road and some other places that needed stone. Clark had no.
The hauling was more expensive than the stone.
No, I think
That's pretty common.
the stone was, well, I think the stone was $3,000, so
So that is that quarry stone, 252?
Sorry?
Is there gonna be a separate invoice for the rest of the quarry stone? Or is that different?
She's got a horrible connection.
No, it's a 3/4 inch quarry stone.
Yeah, that was something in the last pay warrant, the stone itself.
Okay, so what's the quarry stone in this one versus Osmo? Is that just extra?
Oh, I see, sorry, I didn't see that there was another one from them. Must have, yeah,
It's like such a small amount. I'm like,
yeah, no, sorry, I'm assuming that it was some additional.
We had stockpiled some of the.
After the fact, maybe they realized there was some there was a load they didn't bill us for. I'm not completely sure.
Okay.
I know that the bulk of the stone, that we got, I think, was billed last time.
Okay.
Was in the last pay warrant. Yeah, sorry, now I see your point, yeah.
I just looked odd, that's the way, yeah, but that makes more sense now if there was more than $250 of it.
Yeah. Okay, any other questions, Shelby? Okay. All right, then I'd like to make a motion that we approve accounts payable warrant 2020-41 dated April 15th, 2020 in the amount of $12,954.89. Is there a second?
Second.
Was that Bruce?
Yes.
Seconded by Bruce. Any discussion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor of approving accounts payable warrant 2020-41 dated April 15th, 2020 in the amount of $12,954.89 signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Then the accounts payable warrant has been approved.
Could I have the date of the payroll?
April 15th, 2020.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Did you get the amounts okay on both of those, Peter? I'm gonna send them to you anyway, but. Okay, moving on to setting the agenda for the May 6th meeting. I would suggest, again, we'll have traffic speed issues. We'll see what may have changed or not changed at that point. We'll touch base again on the financial tax status in the event we have any more information at that point than we have now. We will likely have, if I can get my act together and make the contact changes that we need to make for it, a draft, an update to the local emergency management plan, which we have to readopt. Technically, we're supposed to do that before May 1st, and the date has not been extended thus far, although a lot of people have complained about it, so I'm hoping as we get closer, the date will be extended. In any event, that'll likely be on the agenda to just, and I'll circulate it electronically. As far as I'm aware at this point, I haven't gone through all of it, but we really only need to make changes of some contact information. There's some places where Dot's information is in there, needs to be replaced with my own. There's Mike Wynot is in it along with Mike Fontaine. We need
Road
to
Commissioner.
remove Mike Wynot. There may not, right, Road Commissioner may need to be updated from what it was, things like that. Anything else people can think of beyond the normal pay orders for the agenda for May 6th?
I would like to just put something on there, partially just for the visual, so people that are reading the agenda will get a reminder about the census.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And it's obviously they're having a horribly difficult time due to the disruption, and I would assume everyone who takes the time to read the agenda has probably already done the census, but I don't think it can hurt.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, we'll put that on there. That's a very good idea. Yeah, it's crazy how challenging that whole thing has got to be right now.
I did put a letter on the website, on the latest news, a request from the Census Bureau asking people to cooperate, and if you look at the website in the latest news part of it, you'll see it there, and it's self-explanatory.
Okay, great. Any other subjects for the agenda that people can think of at the moment?
Now just put down SLP in case I have anything else to spew at you.
Okay. All right, hearing no more of that, then I would make a motion that we adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Bruce. Any discussion? I don't think so. All those in favor of adjourning signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, we are adjourned at exactly 8 p.m.